So good evening to all, for everyone who have been able to stay here for the last session of the day. Myself, Amriti Navada, part of the Lex ERUDITES team. It is our greatest pleasure to have you join the second International Legal Policy Conference on the future of transport for the theme Fall or Race of the Transport sector. I welcome you all to the panel on women in transport, need for more diversity and inclusion on transport. Our panelists for the session are Arpit Satyakal from Cormus Partners, Kate Seaton from HFW, Alicia Contractor from Statshore, and Alpana Chaturvedi from My Logistics Gurukul. So now I am inviting Ms. Veena Kamath from Aerospace and Aviation Lawyers Association of India, who will be moderating the session to take over the stage. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, hi Sagar.
No stress, don't worry. We are all very patient. We understand how these technical things work. So take it easy. Yeah, very well, very well.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
so okay, carry on.
So very warm welcome to rest of the panelists and also to all our audience. This is the last session. So without any further ado, I would like to start the session. It's a very exciting session where we have the panelists coming in from different backgrounds, from an engineer to a logistics background to a lawyer. So I would want more time for the panelists to give their insights. So I would like to start this session next panelist who has a very enterprising career, and we are very eager to listen to what she has to say. May I call upon Ms. Alpana Chaturvedi, ma'am, to please share your insights?
Yes, and can you all hear me well?
Yes, yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
About all the participants that I can see. Excited to be over here. It's like you said in the beginning, it's a diverse lot of people, and I know that there are a lot of budding lawyers in the audience. Of course, I've never come across so many lawyers together, but my son is a lawyer sitting at home, so I'm pretty comfortable in the setup. I come with the many moons of experience. I started my career long time back. When I was straight out of college, I joined Air India, the national carrier. I worked with Air India in the passenger and cargo department, joined the International Airports Authority of India. So that was, from the airlines to the airport operators, the airport owners, actually. After that, I did take a sabbatical. The world moved from manual to technology by the time I came back. But I took it as a challenge. I said, okay, let me see if I can still fit in. Otherwise, I just go home, and I'm very happy to do that in case I do not fit in. But yes, I got back, and I got back into trainings. I joined a private conglomerate called the Bird Group. I set up a training institute for them, which means I found another direction to move towards. So training was new, difficult, but yes, it seemed to be exciting enough. I set up a vocational training institute. Beyond that, I joined the International Air Transport Association, IATA, as regional training manager in India. And then I was with another travel group training. I've been in trainings throughout for the last more than 2 decades, about 3 decades now. So another training organization where we set up a mobile app, worked with different stakeholders for training them, imparting behavioral trainings, and also, people like Uber drivers and the passport people, how to be more courteous and how to be more service oriented. My Logistics Gurukul was set up in 2019 to meet the demands of an industry which actually put training on the backbench. They did not think they needed training. People did not, they felt everything is learning on the job because they were dealing with cargo. And like we say, cargo doesn't speak. So it was okay. They thought they could manage, but then technology did not lead them, any this thing for error. Multinationals were not making it easy. So they realized that, yes, it would be a good idea to have an institute training on logistics. I met up with a whole lot of stakeholders and realized that I was in a good place. So that's where I'm coming from. For my introduction, I have about 3-4 slides, which I will talk about. Just give me a couple of seconds, please. Can you all see the screen?
Yes, yes, madam.
Yes.
It is in the presentation mode. Yes.
So we begin with, transportation and introduction. Like I said, these are just 3-4 slides. So one is, the perspective on the understanding of transportation. I think everybody thinks whatever the picture which is conjured in our minds is of trucks and, things being loaded in trucks and things being loaded off trucks. So that is what normally transportation is. But transportation is much more than that. There's the ocean, there's the air, and the last actually should have been surface, but it's come as rail, so it's okay. So it's rail and road both. So that's the surface transport. So these are the 3 big modes of transport. Ocean, huge. It's an international maritime, the whole back, drop for global trade, the whole backbone for global trade. It accounts for more than, about 80%, 90% of movement of goods from one place to another. Accounts for more than about 4/5 of the world. Mercantile travels on, by volume through the ocean. Provides extensive coverage, naturally connects countries, connects continents with each other, and used for huge bulk movements of commodities like agriculture, iron ore, coal, petroleum, crude oil, big project transport, so huge things. So that is what the ocean transport is contributing to. Then we come to the air. Air is again a very critical mode of transport, and after in the last couple of years again, with pharma, vaccine, things moving, we realized the importance of air transport. It is, and of course, as compared to air, as compared to ocean, it is much more expensive, but then it's not always about expense, it's also about speed. So it serves as a transport mode for markets and supply that demand a lot of speed. Industries and the Japanese system of just-in-time inventory system is served by air transport. Perishable goods, flowers, meats, foods, pharma, vaccines, they all travel by air. And of course, there's less handling of cargo because of the time taken. Then rail provides connectivity to remote areas. Everywhere there's no airport, everywhere there's no ocean. So in the hinterland, inside, in small places, you will at least railway and trucks have access to. It also opens the backward regions for trade and investment. Plays a very important role in the intermodal transport, which means when things come by sea, it is connected by rail. So the goods which have arrived by sea can go inside the smaller places, or even by air. And it's an important link between airports, railway stations, and ports. Table 2, right? Okay. This is the percentage of volume carried by different modes of the transport that we spoke about. Ocean carries about 90% of cargo. 2% is carried by air, 3% by rail, and 2% by road. Of course, the word logistics and transport is interchangeable. Logistics is also, transport, moving things is logistics. So why is, what is the significance of logistics in our lives today? First of all, it helps for all sectors of the economy, whether it's agriculture, or it is e-commerce. E-commerce, a big player in today's day and age. Retail, manufacturing. So all these industries are served. And they help the economy. So logistics plays an important part. Any country which has its logistics in place and infrastructure in place is definitely poised for good growth. how is it important in the, in our daily life? What is the relevance of logistics? So it's not only the big things like export and import or a backbone for the economy, but even in our day-to-day life. I'm sitting at a table. If I were to just pick up a mobile phone or anything, a water bottle, everything. So this is the type of dependency we have on e-commerce these days. And more so in the last couple of years, we have seen when the whole of every industry had stopped. So, but it was logistics which kept on moving and which kept on helping us survive. It was help us, the whole of humanity to survive with foodstuffs, with medicines, with medical equipment, with the movement of patients here and there. So this was the help that was needed. So these days, there's an increased dependency on e-commerce. Market competition is huge. That's why the logistics has to become better and better. Easier access to global markets. So now, everything is available. It's only available because of logistics. That's why we can sit in our homes and actually just at the click of a button order anything from anywhere. Customer expectations are also rising. They are also becoming much and much more aware, and they want more, and that's why the significance increases. Technology, behind all this efficiency is technology, which plays a huge part. So that's how logistics is significant in our lives daily, and also for the economy, for export, for import. This is the importance of logistics. Overall, we'll talk about it in details later on, but here are just some of the job roles that that could be done, and it could be done all by men and women both. So, documentation specialist, somebody who actually for everything you need to have documents, whether it is national, domestic movement of goods or it is an international movement of goods. You need documents to go. You need clearances to be done by stakeholders. Commercial managers who manage all the commerce, global logistics manager, because it's not again an industry which is limited within the country. It's a global industry. Trade lane managers who manage one part of the business. They manage a lane from from the Americas maybe to the Indias. Overseas coordinator for logistics. You need people who will keep on getting networking, meeting people from outside. So that's how that's what I'm trying to tell everybody over here. That's how exciting the job roles are. They're not your normal boring sitting at a desk and working types, but it's lots of excitement. You can, in fact, like we say, you can choose your hours of work also in the logistics industry. With technology coming in, so we have people who can work on technology, the IoT developers, warehousing management. Warehousing is also managed by technology. You have the warehousing management systems, inventory management, and people who look after operations. So these are just some of the job roles that I'm speaking about. That's it as an introduction. That's what I wanted to talk about, and I think we will talk further when the time comes. So let me just stop sharing my screen. Where do I go? I don't see the button. Yeah, stop sharing.
Thank you so much, ma'am,
Okay, is that okay?
for the presentation. It was really nice of you to explain not just facts, transport, and how important logistics is in the field of. So thank you for the insightful presentation. I loved it how you mentioned how exciting roles and opportunities are there in the field of logistics, from documentation specialists to various managers like commercial manager, warehousing management, and inventory management. So I think it's a really nice way you've put it up, and I'm very eager to pick this up during a panel discussion. Thank you, ma'am. So we'll now move on to Alicia, contractor. Alicia has a very interesting background of being an engineer in the field of aerospace engineering, astronautics, and space technology, and who also holds a master's degree. And we're very keen to know what your perspective is on the topic for discussion today. Alicia, over to you.
Thank you, Veena. Thank you for having me. I hope everyone is keeping well. Well, like you mentioned, thank you for introduction. I come from a aerospace background. I pursued my bachelor's in aerospace engineering from London, and I then went ahead and pursued my postgrad in space system engineering from UK. The I would say that the inspiration for me to get into this particular line of subject was certainly my uncle, my maternal uncle, who was in Indian Air Force back then. So, and I come from a family. I mean, I am really grateful for my family that in a society where people do see that a woman shouldn't be taking up a certain profession because it is not ladylike. My family had given me full support, and they were all they never believed that any particular profession should have a gender role as such. If you really like something, go ahead, pursue it. That was the whole ideology that I came from. So I went ahead, pursued my studies, and then after pursuing my studies, I came back to India and have been working for various companies. I did my first 4 years of my career with a drone manufacturing company here in India called Aerospace. And then currently I'm working for a satellite application company called Satcher. I would say that there certainly is a very huge gap in gender roles, even during the education itself. Like while I was pursuing my bachelor's, I had seen that in a class of, I think we were 105, we were barely 10, not even 10 girls. So the issue is certainly there, that people still are not pursuing, especially women, they are not pursuing engineering or other STEM programs as much as they should be, I would say. And I would certainly encourage more and more female candidates to, pursue this particular, this program. So yes, I have quite some stats, if I may, we can indulge into it. Otherwise, we can take it up during the panel discussions.
We can quickly go over through your presentation, Alicia, because we see that you've put in a lot to make this presentation. So we would love to see what you've prepared for us. Syed, can you please help us with showing Alicia's presentation?
Veena, I just have numbers. I don't have a presentation to show.
Okay, so you can go ahead, Alicia.
Right. So just to again go through some of the records that we have, that from World Bank 2019-2020 report that I've got. So women who had enrolled in STEM program, STEM is actually science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So in India, we had about 43% of women who had enrolled in STEM program. In US, you have 34%. In UK, you have 38%. In Germany, you have 27, and in France, 32. If I talk about India, the major issue that happens is not just women actually graduating, but after that, we've seen that the share of women in STEM jobs in India is just 14%, which is quite low, I would say. And if I talk about aerospace industry in particular, some of the top 4 companies, if we look at, there are barely, I would say, 18 to 20% of women in the leadership board or in executive committee or council, if you may say. So there is a very huge gap that you see even at workplaces or even in the leadership in aerospace industry for sure that I could talk of. And I mean, come on, like now we've seen too many billionaire boys in space. I think it's time that we should also have some satellite, so to say, or yeah, like why not? And like I said before, that any job role shouldn't be defined by a gender. It could be anyone. Job is a job. At the end of the day, you get the work done, and it has nothing to do with who you are or where you come from. So yeah, I think that's all from me.
Thank you, Alicia. I think you sharing us your experience and more particularly how in the present day, because of the field that you're working in, not many girls or women come into the field, and you sharing your experience of how your family supported you and the current roles that you're playing as an aerospace engineering. That's really inspiring, and we'll discuss a few issues and solutions during the panel discussion. Thank you, Alisa. Now the next speaker that we have is Kate. Kate is a lawyer by profession who is an aviation specialist, aviation litigation specialist who has worked with major airlines and wing operators, airport authorities, ground handlers, and who's worked across a lot of different jurisdictions, different countries. So we are very eager to know what Kate has to speak on the issue today. So Kate, over to you.
Thank you very much, Veena, and hello to everybody that's dialing in. Thanks for everyone joining. It's a real pleasure for me to be here today. As Veena said, my name's Kate Seaton. I'm a partner here at HFW. We're an international global firm, but I'm part of the aerospace team here. I trained in the UK and did my training contract at a firm called Clyde & Co. I joined that firm in 2002. And then I moved out to Singapore in 2009, where I've been working, been based for the last 12 years, and I've been a partner in the firm for about 5 years. There are about, in Singapore, just in terms of statistics, we have 18 partners in Singapore, of which 3 are women. So I think that works out to be about 16%. So I would say I am in a minority, certainly amongst female partners in Singapore and also globally within my firm. And I know we're taking steps to address that, and we can talk about that later on. I am a diversity and inclusion champion for HFW and also for the aerospace team and the Singapore office. Part of that role involves engaging with our managing partner and also the leader of our global aviation team to ascertain what we can do to really level the playing field and to encourage more women to feel that they can soar through that glass ceiling. What are the limiting factors, and what can we do to encourage more women to come through? Because we know we have maybe about 60% of women coming into 60% of those coming into the law are women, but when you get to very senior levels, and certainly at partnership, that number drops off considerably, and we're doing our best to try and change that so that we have more women in senior leadership positions. Just in terms of other things that I'm doing here in Singapore, or certainly for HFW, I've managed to get HFW to become a supporting member of the Women in Aerospace and Women in Aviation and Aerospace Charter, and that's something that you can look up. I am also a founding member of the Singapore chapter for the Women in Aviation International group. It's a US organization. There is a chapter group I saw in New Delhi for those people on the call that are interested in reaching out and becoming a part of Women in Aviation International and joining a local chapter. The WAI is open to men and women, male members, which was one of the things that attracted me to it, because I think the whole debate about D&I has to include men. We have to work together as a team to improve the statistics. And I think we can only do that together. And just as an interesting aside, we had Zara Rutherford. I don't know if anyone's been following this, but Zara Rutherford is a British-Belgian 19-year-old lady who just recently flew into Singapore She's completing or trying to break the world record for flying solo around the world. And she's just landed in Singapore. And she's done some incredible videos to really inspire women to go into aviation and into STEM. And her aim is ultimately to become an astronaut. And I think there's just some really incredible stories that we should take heart from, and some incredible individuals driving these initiatives. And that's it for me. Look forward to the discussion.
Thank you, Kate. That was a quick insight into what you do as an aviation lawyer and what are the opportunities which are available for us in the field. So we'll quickly start with the panel discussion. So before that, Shiva, can you please confirm Arpad will be available for his presentation?
Again, thank you very much for the opportunity to join. Apologies that I'm on the move, going to an event in Vienna now, and that's why I have to do this from a moving vehicle. I'm a lawyer by background. Everyone who has not come across me, I'm from Budapest originally, but studied and worked in aviation for about 4 or 5 years in London, and sort of 7 or 8 years ago I transitioned into search and assessment. I'm working in an organization called Cormis Partners, which is an executive search firm. We typically deal with industrial clients, are not limited to clients from the aviation, logistics sectors. So it's food, rail, but also aviation clients that we typically deal with. Based in London, but do a lot of things in Europe and also in North America, Middle East, and in Asia.
I think Arpad, sorry to interrupt you, Arpad. I think your voice is breaking. Maybe you can remove the presentation so that your bandwidth is, maybe going to sound better.
Stop.
So let's stick to the voice. So you stop the sharing of the document.
Yeah.
Maybe that will improve. Apologies to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Carry on, Arpad.
Yeah. Quickly on the transportation employment landscape globally. As of early 2021, we've seen quite a big drive in hiring activities across all sectors, but in particular in ground transportation, so road, rail, light rail, tram, metro services, basically not only here in Europe, but also in Asia. Interestingly, in India, I've done 2 searches over the past sort of 6 months. That was in rail and water transportation as well. Freight transport, maritime, port operations, warehousing, particularly busy. And again, I can say that globally, North America and Europe in particular, very busy across all levels, seniority levels. So we typically handle searches from mid to senior level, so leadership level roles. But what is really sought after at the moment is, again, individuals with engineering backgrounds, data analytics backgrounds, statistics, project management skills. It's really across the board. Those are the most sought after skill sets that everyone is looking for at the moment. In terms of soft skills, it's not surprising. It's adaptability and resilience and forward thinking. Basically, people who can really drive growth and really come on board and take an organization further. Basically, that's what everyone is looking for, no matter their geography and no matter the organization that that we are supporting. Basically, so it's resilience, adaptability. Obviously, it's a move. It's no matter where you are in the world at the moment, you really need to be someone who comes on board, can bring a team together, can bring alignment into teams, and can really make sure that the organization is moving forward rather than backwards. Basically, um, that's what everyone is talking about. Again, digital skills, digital transformation, change. Those are the sort of skills that small, medium companies, scale-ups, and also startup companies are looking for. Essentially, that's seems to be the number one thing that organizations are looking for. We do quite a bit of consulting in the diversity and inclusion space, and wanted to give some pointers basically to organizations. If anyone is listening, how can you really make sure that you are improving your D&I stats? Like, one of the most important things is evaluate your executive team. Do they portray diversity and inclusion? Who are your leaders within the organizations? Do you have enough, not only age, gender, race, ethnicity, but also every single other sort of diversity as well. Basically, diversity of thought, diversity of I think thinking. That's probably the most important diversity organizations need today, and also fostering a company culture where every voice is welcome, heard, respected. I think those are the most important aspects that organizations need to really make sure it happens. Having an open dialogue about gender pay inequality. Unfortunately, in a lot of countries around the world, pay inequalities is something that is apparent. Whether it's Asia, Africa, here in Europe, North America, men, especially in leadership roles, tend to get paid disproportionately more than females. That's why I think that's an aspect that organizations really need to open a dialogue about and make sure that it's addressed. Also, building a multi-generation workforce, that you're really bringing people to the table who are in their 20s, in their 30s, in their 40s, especially in very hierarchical sort of cultures, such as India, such as Japan, South Korea, Singapore, where younger generations might not be given a voice or an equal voice at the table. Also, organizations can do much better strengthening their anti-discrimination policies and really making sure that it's in writing, basically, and people who work for that organization can refer to those documents, and everything is codified, so to say. And most importantly, the last thing that I wanted to mention is really make sure that you eliminate bias in the evaluation process and the promotion opportunities, basically, so that you really make sure that everyone within the organization has equal chance of getting from A to B. This is the most important thing that you really need to make sure if you want to retain talent in the organization. Getting new talent is one thing, but retention and making sure that people want to continue to work for you and be an attractive workplace, I think that's another thing that organizations can improve and must improve if they would like to make sure that people stay there in the long term, basically. So elimination of bias, strengthening anti-discriminatory policies within organizations, and really thinking about the multi-generation workforce, because that's happening. A lot of people work longer, well into their 60s and 70s. But on the other hand, you have the 18-year-olds, the 20-year-olds, the apprentices coming in, and how do they get on? How do you really make sure that it's a well-oiled machine, so to say? Those are the things that I wanted to highlight, Sagar and everyone. I hope I managed to give you a quick overview as to what's happening basically in both in terms of diversity and inclusion, and also the hiring trends that are happening all across the transportation logistic sectors here in Europe, but also globally. But again, thank you so much for the attention and for the opportunity to be here. And again, apologies for doing this from a moving vehicle on my way from A to B.
Thank you, Arpat. That was a good insight on the need for having diversity and inclusiveness in an organization, and how one needs to take a step to eliminate biases at the time of hiring and the hiring trends. So let us start with where you have stopped, which is so you mentioned about inclusivity, diversity, and the necessity of removing biases at the time of hiring, and you gave some facts as well in terms of hiring trends. Can you tell us what is the reason why this issue exists? Are these issues something which is related specifically to the aviation sector? And why do these issues exist? So is it the same if it is at the grassroots level? Let's say there are people who are working at a grassroots level in the aviation transport sector, as opposed to those who reach leadership roles in the aviation sector. So what is your opinion on why is it that these issues exist in the first place?
Yeah. No, thank you. It really starts with education, with the promotion of STEM subjects. You can't be what you can't see. A lot of females all around the world are just simply not aware of the engineering path, the mathematics path, the science path, and this is why they're not represented really equally or as well as some of the as men. But again, I think it's very important to think of diversity as broader than just gender. It's age. It's diversity of thought. And I think what is not happening, or what a lot of organizations are not doing well, is really promoting themselves to demographies that are not represented well, basically, like the girls' schools or primary schools, or secondary schools, high schools, and really make sure that they're hiring from universities that are not the top 10 or top 20, but top 30, 40, 50. I mean, you really need to make sure that your hiring pool is broad enough, that you really go to places where you don't normally look, like it's not the top 10 university, but you go and make the extra mile and look at places where you don't normally look. I think search firms, recruitment companies have a lot of responsibility and have a lot to answer for, because they don't go and make the extra effort to look in less obvious places, basically, where, yeah, I think that's where these issues that we are talking about can be addressed, basically, that you go to places where others don't go. And I think it all starts at hiring. It all starts with graduate programs. at 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, or maybe even earlier, the apprentice level, basically like 16, 17-year-olds, and basically promoting yourself, schools, universities, colleges. I think that's where the issue needs to be addressed first, basically. Yeah.
Yes, yes. In fact, I think Alicia during her presentation did mention as to how she's an aerospace engineer, and she mentioned how there's a very small percentage of women who join educational institutions where where they give impart education pertaining to the transport sector. So Alicia, now moving on to what you told us about your experience, how do you think at the stage of an educational institution one can make a difference, small or big, at least to ensure that more women, or I would say not just women, but also maybe physically challenged or those who don't have better opportunities, how is it that we can make them as well inclusive at the stage of education? So what are your thoughts on it?
So, like how Arpit mentioned, there was another incident I would just like to mention here. That I wanted to pursue diploma in mechanical engineering right after my 10th standard, because I was focused that I really wanted to pursue my aerospace engineering. However, there is a government polytechnic in the city that I was staying. It was quite surprising that they did not have any mechanical background. They did not have any mechanical department, just because they were like, women, they don't join mechanical department. And I was quite appalled by it. I would say that you need to start young. You need to, there needs to be programs right from the school level that would encourage women in this particular direction, I would say, or in joining STEM. I mean, just start them with as young as possible. Like it's quite a little off the record, I would say, example, I would say, but with my niece, I end up giving her a Lego gift, because I know that she is a little handsy with all the playing games. I would say start young, encourage more kids in this particular field, and make programs, introduce them with, show them more leaders in this particular field, because when you have leaders, you end up relating to them even better.
True.
So yeah, just have programs from school, encourage them, encourage kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So Alpana ma'am, what about your view? So once a person decides to choose a career in the field of logistics, you have worked across different fields in the cargo department, and what are your views? What are the issues which are faced by either the women or those who are maybe physically challenged, or the LGBTQ community, or what are the challenges that one face, and how is it that in your capacity as a trainer and all that work that you've done for the last 30 years or so, how is it that you in your capacity try to bridge this gap and make sure that everybody is well represented? Because in your presentation you did mention, while talking about your slide on the roles, you said men and women, everybody can do it. So can you share us your personal experience on this?
Yeah. So, Veena, in the job roles that there could be, in the transportation sector, we divided into, let's say, the blue collar jobs and the white collar jobs. The blue collar jobs are definitely, they're difficult. They're not, maybe it's a truck driver or people who are loading stuff. So physically or whatever, biologically, it is not, it's not easy for women to do. Of course, driving, they are getting into forklift operations and all. But the white collar jobs, there are plenty of white collar jobs. There is except that the awareness is not there. The mindset is not there. People when they talk, you spoke of aviation. So aviation, they do not even know the number of jobs that there are in aviation. I have never been an air hostess, but I've worked in aviation. Everybody, they want to, if you ask a person what they'd like to do in aviation, they only know they could become an air hostess or they would like to become a pilot. Those are the only, do they know what is it which is making this whole industry work?
Exactly. Exactly.
How many things are there? How many people behind the job in back offices? On the ground, what is it that is actually making the industry tick? They do not know. So I thought it was very, very important for me to actually, create this awareness of what the jobs could be. And I myself, and in this my logistics gurukul, the physical classroom is actually inside a warehouse. I'm sitting inside a fully functional warehouse with a classroom. This classroom is all state of the art, but anybody who comes to meet me has to, walk through the whole warehouse thing. Then inside the warehouse, maybe at times, navigate their ways, in the aisles. Of course, the cargo is kept very, very neatly, but still, they would come across things and then they come and meet me. That I find it very, very exciting. And when I was in Air India, I was in Air India cargo. I used to wear a sari, that was my uniform, and still walk into the cargo warehouse. There were very few women that time also, but women were there. And so in logistics, we go out and meet these college people, girls and boys both. We'll go to a girls' college or we'll go to a mixed college and we'll talk about awareness and opportunities in the logistics domain, in the logistics sectors. What is it? What all could you do? Because people do not know, so they only think that it's either a transporter, either a truck driver's job or loader's job or air hostess or so this awareness is very, very important. And I think I could be a brand ambassador myself, I'm there when I'm going and I'm meeting people, or when a girl comes to me and talks to me. And so in the warehouse, the operations department is there. There are lots of girls who are sitting and working there. And why not? I tell them that all these jobs could be done easily by anybody. You need to be interested. You need to know your subject. So that's why we are a training institute. We train you to be job ready. And we actually, at my logistics Gurukul, we actually even provide employment. I do not say that, just because you've enrolled for a course, I'll get you a job. But we work with the industry to provide job ready people. And now I notice lots of people, lots of employers who work with me after a course is over, they specifically ask, how many girls in the class? Do you have any girls you could, because they want for specific roles, they would like customer service roles, or, like the overseas logistics managers, or people, the global logistics people, they would want women to be there, because there are things that women can do much better. And we are not having a gender war over here. Sorry for all the people over here. But yes, but some sort of in the customer service roles, I think women are very, very good. And it's all about serving the customer. After all, it's the service industry. So if you can do it, so I have lots of opportunities for women. And all these jobs which I spoke about. And then the other part, one more important thing I'd like to talk about just now. We are doing a project for women in Haryana, and these are all village women. So these village women, we are training them for jobs in Haryana. It's a state close to Delhi, for people who are not from Delhi or India. So it has huge warehouses. DB Schenker, Amazon, Flipkart, all these people, the huge warehouses are there, and these warehouses want to cater to the people who are around. And they asked that if we could train. They had an NGO, and as part of their CSR activity, and the NGO came to us and said, would you be our training partner? Would you train these women? So we have trained women for jobs in sorting, picking, scanning, and they're all village women. And there are 30, 35 of them in a room, and they come with their heads covered, they come with their mother-in-laws, they come with their babies. But when we make them aware about what they have to do, about what is the life outside that they can get, they're excited. And lots of them have already joined work. So that's how it is.
That's really nice, ma'am. You're truly an inspiration. I think you've really identified that the issue is one of lack of awareness.
Yeah.
So taking that and creating your own training institutes, and most importantly, I think you personally going, meeting people, and leading by way of an example. That's really inspiring. So now my next question is for Kate. Kate, you mentioned during your presentation that. A lot of women, when they reach leadership roles, they drop out. So can you tell us, having worked in as a partner for more than 5 years and having worked across a variety of cases across different countries, what are the reasons or challenges why this issue exists, and do you foresee any particular solution which is plausible, maybe at an organizational level or at a national level? So what are your insights on this?
Yeah, thanks, Veena. It was interesting actually hearing Alicia's comment. I mean, I ended up coming into aviation also because I had family members that were in aviation. So growing up, I was exposed to planes, helicopters, aircraft, and it really excited me. And I saw the passion in my father and my brother, and wanted to follow in their footsteps. And then, law came about because my mother suggested it might be a good idea. So I think where it also goes to Arpad's point, you need people to tell you that something is possible. You need to be seeing people doing these roles to know that you can do it. And actually, when men and women may be motivated by different things, but women gain confidence from seeing other women doing those roles. And I think that's really important. In terms of why women leave the profession, or certainly leave law, because that's really the profession that I can speak to, it's difficult to know, and that will really only be known by obviously our HR departments who conduct exit interviews. But from what I know and from what I've seen is a lot of women get to a point where certainly they start families, or they want to start a family and inevitably want to have children, and actually they feel that they're not able to do both. And I think that stems, so there's a point in your career as a woman where you decide you want to have a family, and then you want flexibility. So you think, actually, well, it's not possible to do both. So I've got to make a decision. Do I work or don't I work? And that's very stark. And I don't think women should have to make that stark choice and that stark decision. We're increasingly becoming more diverse and accepting of flexibility and encouraging women to stay connected with their roles, even when they've taken time out, so that they can come back into the workforce. So I think if we have that discussion and that debate for those women that do genuinely want to continue working, we need to give them the confidence that they can do that and continue, give them their space to have that moment so that they can have their families, but to be able to welcome them back so that they can continue their careers and their professions if that is what they want to do. Because ultimately you want to be able to have a choice, but you don't want that choice to be because there isn't the framework to support you. So it's incumbent on us to ensure that there is a framework to support women that want to stay on. I also think within law firms, Arpad will know this well, we're geared up to reward people based on performance, and high performance culture is a really, really big subject at the moment. And sometimes a lot of women feel, I just can't do this. I can't invest all of my time. Can I be a partner? Can I actually achieve the numbers and have a family and do this and carry out my responsibilities? So I think that is a challenge, and it may be something that law firms need to look at. Is that high performance culture? How do we balance that with knowing that we need to promote women and bring women up? Do we actually change the remuneration structure so that it's more team based, so that everybody that puts in that work in that team benefits? It's not just an individual that benefits, it's a team effort. So I think that's the challenge that we face. I think there's some interesting drivers on the business side. Law firms are being driven to become more diverse and inclusive. because of the pressure that we're getting from our clients, which, whilst that we have to be pushing ourselves, ultimately there is a business need for us to do so. And just recently, I don't know if anybody saw, but certainly in one of the UK, the Law Gazette in the UK recently had a headline that Microsoft is offering up to 3% bonus to panel law firms for hitting their diversity targets. So there's pressure coming from clients to say you need to be doing more. And I guess you could liken this also to sustainability and the pressures that organizations are coming under to become more sustainable. We're having our feet held to the fire by our clients, by the people that pay our fees. So we have to walk the walk. So I hope that answers the question, Veena, but let me know if there was anything that I had missed.
Yes, Kate, I think that's very well pointed out. So moving on from where you've stopped, I'd like to move to Arpad. So as Arpad, Kate has identified on the issues which we face as lawyers or in the legal profession, I want to know from you as to what issues that we can face in the transport sector with a focus on introduction of artificial intelligence to do a lot of work. So you are engaged in hiring and recruitment. So how does the artificial intelligence play a role on inclusive and diversity in the aviation sector? So Kate addressed on the other issues which are faced by the women in general. I want you to focus on the importance of artificial intelligence.
Has a massive impact. AI and automation, especially when it comes to the blue collar jobs. Just think of check-in desks. Just think of automation at airports. We're seeing that quite a lot of these manual jobs are being eliminated at the moment, and baggage handling, that's another area. I mean, it's just really think of the supply chain at an airport. I think most of the manual labor sort of roles are disappearing, but then you need to bear in mind that all this AI automation is also creating roles. So I don't really believe that humans will not really be necessary going forward. I think this change is creating an awful lot of need for other roles, supervisory roles, of course, mainly making sure that these automated systems work. So with the disappearance of roles, we are also seeing the creation quite a lot of roles. So there are many jobs that are being created as a result of this, as a result of AI, as a result of all this automation that is happening. Lots of people are moving up the food chain as well. Those who have done manual labor, they are now overseeing automated systems now. Project management skills are becoming, digital skills are becoming more and more important and more scarce. So it's not all bad news. It's not like all of a sudden we're going to be out of jobs here. I think it's just a very different sort of role or function that is going to be needed from now on. And this is why upskilling, reskilling within organizations are going to be really important, because the talent that has done the menial tasks will now need to be upskilled and need to be able to do other roles that will be about really making sure that these operations that are mainly automated today are functioning well. So robots are not going to come and get our jobs, but it's or certainly not in the short to medium term. It's more of a slower evolution of roles that we are seeing here, and not only in aviation. It's happening in shipping, it's happening in logistics, in other forms of transportation, in road, rail as well. So it's a slow-moving beast, but I think upskilling and reskilling are the two key words that I would really highlight here. That those organizations that would like to retain talent will need to make sure that it's really happening and it's not only lip service. So yeah.
Right, right. Thank you, Albert. Now, before we take the questions from the audience, Shiva, I would like you to keep the questions handy. Before we take the questions from the audience, I would just like to conclude with one last question that I have for you all, which is, what is your overview, or rather, what is your view on how the future of the transport looks like in terms of bringing inclusivity and diversity? So before we take the questions from the audience, I do see that we're running short of time, but I would just want to wrap the panel discussion with one question for you all, which is that what is your opinion, seeing the overall aviation transport sector, whether there is a rise or a fall in terms of bringing inclusivity and diversity? Are we moving for the good? Maybe if not at a very good place, but slow and steady, we're getting there, or are we in a worse of position, or what is your take? Alpana ma'am, can we start with you?
So, no, we are not doing badly. I think we are doing very, very well in, with the, thinking of diversity and inclusiveness and, what I've heard from the others. We are in very, very good space. We need to carry on with this. We need to be, and the keywords, like you said, are skilling and upskilling. People need to learn, and also inclusive. Let everybody understand what is there. There's a job for everybody, especially in this interesting sector. There's a job for people with all sorts of skills. You have a science background, you have an internet, you have a technology background, you have a commerce background, you are just a 12th pass, or you've just done your schooling and you want to get into the sector. There is, and like I was told, the inclusivity, and it's not only about gender. Diversity is not about gender, but about, the age factor, the sex, so many other things are there. We are in good space. I think we need to continue with this, and it's all for the good. That's what the industry needs. It needs a lot of diversification and inclusivity, and we should do very, very well with that. And skilling is, for me, the bottom line is skilling and upskilling. People need to be, to remain valid. You have to do these things to remain relevant. You have to be learning and relearning some things, learning them differently. And the organizations also have to take this very, very seriously. They need to tell their people, this is an investment. They should not look for, it's not an expense. They look on skilling as an expense, but I think it's an investment.
Yes. What about you? Do you share the same views as Alpana ma'am, who thinks that the industry is providing very promising opportunities going ahead? Do you share the same views?
Sorry, was that question to Alisa? Or?
So that's for Kate. So I was asking if Kate shares the same views as Alpana ma'am, who thinks that the industry is doing very well, and it has promising opportunities for everybody across different gender, age, background. So do you also share the same from your perspective as an aviation lawyer?
I think there are huge challenges that we face as an aviation industry, for sure. As a result of COVID, we're seeing this stop-start starting of the economy and of the industry. I think we're seeing issues with manpower shortages. But I really think, and actually those manpower shortages are actually driving up the cost of labour. But I think there are opportunities here for women. We need women in the workforce. Women are incredibly adaptable, very resilient. There's a huge need for innovation now in our industry. We look at, what airports have gone through with having to introduce touchless technology. We're looking at facial recognition. All of this technology is there. As Arpad said, it's not doing away with roles and jobs. It's actually creating more. It's creating different types of roles. So I think there are challenges in the industry, but I do think there are real opportunities for women. And I think there are some incredible organisations. I just think of IATA, the 25 by 25 initiative, which I know is a voluntary campaign, but there's a lot of airlines have signed up to it. And we have issues. I think the issue is holding companies to account and making sure that we are making progress. But there's a lot of reporting obligations now that companies have to follow. As I said, our own clients are putting pressure on us to do more. So I'm positive. I am positive about the future for women, certainly in this industry.
Yes, thank you, Kate. That looks very promising. And coming from you with, your diverse background, it definitely feels very enterprising for those who decide to pursue a career in the field of aviation sector. Alicia, what are your thoughts? So, from your perspective as an engineer, Kate and Alpana ma'am had different views being in their respective fields, but from your perspective, even today, I feel that the numbers at, let's say, IITs in India haven't changed with respect to men and women ratios. There's still less number of girls who join universities. So do you also see a similar positive trend, or what are your thoughts?
I certainly think that it is, there are positive trends in for future. Just to give you an example of Northrop Grumman, I mean, it is led by a woman. It has almost 58% of women in its board of directors, so to say. You have a lot of initiatives are taking in place for having women networking. And also upskilling and the skill development for women and also for other people as well. So I would say yes, it is going in on the route. I mean, I do see a good future, and we are certainly not short of leaders or role models in this particular field that encourages young girls and women to join this field. I mean, we are no short of them. And in case if you do find shortage, please read this book, I would say. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, it's called Amazing Stories of Women in Space. Can you see it? Oh, no?
We can't see it, but we would love to see what you've written. So if you can just put it in the chat box, Alicia, for all of us.
Sure. But it's like if you ever feel that there is some shortage of role models to look up to, please, I would recommend you this book for space industry especially. So yes, I mean, I would really want to see some SATL ladies in future. There are a lot of startups in space industry that are being led by women. And I do see that there is huge future, and it's pretty bright for women who do want to be in this field. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Alicia. That was really nice of you to also refer to our book. And I think it's important that we do have role models, and you've identified it well. So please share the details of the book in the chat box. Arpat, what are your thoughts? How do you see the future sector in terms of
trying to think what hasn't been said? I think a lot has been said already. Maybe not overlooking the role that males play in this, really engaging the male population, who are very often the decision makers within, especially when it comes to the aviation sector, especially when it comes to the airlines, the airports, the service providers. I think without them, not much can happen. And I think it's just really making sure that they are engaged, they are basically incentivized as well. That they, it's not only a sort of let's come up with some metrics like an IATA 25 by 25, which is of course a very nice and worthy goal, but I think it really needs to go a little bit beyond a few flashy numbers. And I think it's really important that those who can make a difference, which is in the airline industry, unfortunately, the male CEO, will be engaged and they are part of the conversation. And it's not only a siloed HR or recruitment topic, but it's part of a business's core agenda or priorities. Because if it's just an HR issue, it's not going to be taken in seriously. That's the issue. That's my personal view.
Thank you, Arpat. Thank a very it's a pleasure to have all of you here and get to know what your thoughts and views are on the issues that the aviation sector faces specifically and generally, and to know how the future of the transport sector looks like. So we'll quickly move on to some of the questions from the audience. Shiva or Sagar, can you please let us know if there are any particular questions that we can take up? I'm unable to see the question, so if Sagar or Shiva can pick and choose the questions and share with the panel.
Actually, yeah, no, actually we have we do not have questions, but I think they are all inspired and motivated with what you shared, and they seem to be like saying, yes, we need to encourage, educate, and empower, and there are also other comments like, yeah, amazing stories of all you women, so I think they're probably reflecting on what you shared now, because it's a topic that, as I was mentioning to some of you the other day, it's relatively new still, that we have an open discussion where we come out and say, or we acknowledge that there is something, that there is a gap, or we have identified there's a gap, and somehow we have to bridge that gap. So I think it's a beginning in that sense. And to me, well, reading a book is great, but to me, I already see you as role models and ambassadors. But when I contacted you, I knew that, but my belief, or at least now learning more from each of you, it just I think we don't need to read books. I mean, it's great, but I think each of you are an ambassador, and even Arpad, yeah, I mean, of course we are a part of the society, and we have to do our bit as well. So it's not about he versus she or she versus he here. I think we have to come up with certainly a framework and the policy, whatever we can do from our end, starting from a grassroots level, because just the fact that you sit down and talk to a CEO itself will not resolve this problem. Of course, we need leadership. We need someone to have a vision and put some direction and thought into it, and resources, of course. So everything counts, every bit of it. But I think it has to trickle down in order, like I think Arpad started off that point, and then Alicia picked it up, saying that it should start really from the fact that you don't give a doll, but you have to give a Lego set, and it starts at home, basically. Or you go to a school and you try to tell that, hey, these are all the avenues that are possible, where you can actually go out and venture, not just the fact that women are meant for customer service or to become part of a crew. Of course, great. I'm not saying, I mean, because they're good at it, we need to acknowledge as well. I mean, for me, I am good at certain things, and I better know it, and then I stick to it. So there's nothing wrong with it, but the fact that you're not aware of something, I think it's equally bad. I think probably that's what we need to I think there's a need for raising that awareness, and I hope this session helps some of the audience, and hopefully the video as well will do some rounds in order to get few people motivated. But I'm certain that each of us definitely have played a role today, at least, to bring in some motivation, and also inspire some of the youngsters who are here, both from legal and non-legal backgrounds. Thank you to each of you, and Veena, thank you as always. A young budding lawyer, whom I know actually almost 10 years now. So you were
Yes.
much younger, but she's much more senior lawyer now than me. But as you can see, it's quite inspirational to see a young talented lady also, in the sector, and she's doing her bit as well. So thank you again to each of you. But I don't see any other questions. Unless anyone has any last comments or any reflections, feel free to share. Looks like we are done. Okay, then. Thank you, and we close the session. Veena, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Sagar. Thank you, Arpat, Alpana ma'am, Alicia, and Kate. It was wonderful to know what your views and thoughts were. And it's so amazing to see how some of the issues are sector specific and some of the issues are not really sector specific, but they're generally, issues which have to be dealt. Maybe right at everybody's home, like Alicia had pointed out. So I do hope that in the coming year, when we are going to have our next conference of Ally, we will all get a chance to meet in person, and we hope that we get a chance to personally meet many more people in person, so that we can share more of our insights. And we would love to know what individually your success stories are, each of you, Kate, Alicia, Alpana ma'am, and Arpad, be it your roles as a mentor or, as a lawyer, as an engineer, and your journey until the current states that you have. So thank you so much for all your time, and we look forward to meeting you all very soon for our next conference.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sagar.
Veena. Thank you,
Thank you.
Kate. Thank you, Sagar. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you, Shiva. Great.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.